Countdown to Halloween 2023, featuring eerie and uncanny tales of haunts, ghosts, and suspense. October is finally here. Join us all month for special Halloween presentations on Storylink Radio's YouTube channel as we count down to Halloween 2023. Keep a close eye on YouTube alerts or you'll miss one. Celebrate October with us right here and now. Tonight's presentation from Storylink Radio. It waits. The photo on the front page of the local paper was dark and grainy, but the headline above it was very clear. Silver Bay Monster caught on film. Not much of a picture, Greg said to his friends, Valerie and Andre. The monster looks more like a big old log floating in the water. Valerie shook her head. That's probably what it is, but the tourists eat it up. You know that. Yeah, Andre said. Have you seen those stupid T-shirts? I swam in Silver Bay. And a drawing of the monster munching on a swimmer. Ha! Greg nodded. He'd seen the T-shirts in the books and even a dumb television show about the monster of Silver Bay. The tale had been passed down for generations and could be traced back to an old Native American legend of a beast that came to feed near the shoreline when the waters were icy cold. Mr. Potter from the boathouse claimed that he had actually seen it at dusk 3 winters ago. I gotta pause just for a sec again. Tightly so we don't get booted out of there. It came up real slow and easy, he'd said. Then it moved a little closer to the shore, like it was searching for something. Had long, sharp teeth, too. I could see them shining as it passed by me. I'll tell you this, Mr. Potter had added. I'm glad I was on shore instead of in a boat. I don't think I'd be here today. Old Man Potter was known to tell a tale every now and then, but there were few who were convinced that he was telling the truth. Of course, as we always say here, facts never should get in the way of a good storyteller. Anyway, Old Man Potter had described the monster in great detail as a gray-skinned beast about 50 feet long with an alligator-like head. His description matched those of other sightings, but no one seemed to be able to get a good, clear photograph of the beast to prove that it really existed. Some said it lived most of the time deep in the bay where the water was always cold, only coming to the surface in the fall or winter months, you know. Well, thank goodness the summer's over and all the tourists are going home, Valerie said, walking from the newsstand. Yeah, not all of them, Greg answered. My cousin Mark and his folks are coming to visit from Arizona in a couple weeks. I didn't know you had a cousin, Valerie said with interest. How old is he? Is he nice? Is he cute? He's mean as he can be, Greg said, laughing. He looks a lot like the Silver Bay Monster. You'd like him. Mark and his parents arrived just as the fall season set in. The leaves in the trees had turned brilliant shades of yellow, red, and orange, and the air was crisp and cool. It didn't take long for Greg and Mark to renew their friendship. Yeah, you're so lucky to live here, Mark said as he and Greg stood in the porch overlooking the bay. Yeah, Greg agreed. It's pretty, but it kind of gets boring sometimes, you know. I think it would be really cool to live in a big city like Phoenix. You got everything there. Mark laughed. We don't have any sea monsters. Yeah, neither do we, Greg said with a grin. What do you mean? Mark questioned. I thought there was supposed to be some kind of monster here in Silver Bay, sort of like that Loch Ness thing in Scotland or what? Yeah, Greg shook his head. That's just an old story. Mark's voice took on a serious tone. But I heard that quite a few people have vanished out in the bay, eh? Yeah, that's true, but the monster thing's just hype, Greg assured him. Fall and winter conditions in Silver Bay can be dangerous for boaters unless they really know, how to handle it. The water's very cold and deep. If someone were to fall and drown, that person's body would probably never be found. But with all the tourists gone, the bay isn't so crowded now. This really is the best time to go out and have some fun. He looked at the early afternoon sunlight shimmering on the water. You want to see for yourself? My buddy Andre has a boat. We could all go out for a sightseeing tour. But I thought you said it could be dangerous, Mark said. Are you sure your folks won't mind if we go? It isn't risky if you know what you're doing, and if we don't tell my folks, huh? We'll just take a short trip. Be back before supper time. Come on. An hour later, Greg, Mark, Andre, and Valerie were cruising along in a small boat just off the shoreline. I'll take us around the point, Andre called out above the rumble of the outboard motor. He picked up speed and he nosed the boat into deeper water. Soon they rounded the long, tree-covered spit of land, entered a secluded cove, and turned back toward the shoreline, which was a tangle of trees and undergrowth that grew to the very edge of the water. Andre expertly guided them around a bare little islet that peaked just above the surface. Greg pointed to the low, wide hump of sand. That's Goose Bank. At high tide, it's underwater. People who don't know better get hung up on it sometimes. We have to stay in the channel here. It's a lot deeper. What about over there? Mark asked, pointing to a spot a few hundred yards away. Is that another bank? Greg turned to look. What are you talking about? Mark shielded his eyes from the sun. Oh, sorry, guys. I guess I'm just seeing things. It's gone now. Hey, maybe it was the creature, Andre offered with a grin. This would be the perfect place for it, deep water, close to shore. Hey, maybe we should go get a better look. You got your camera with you, don't you, Mark? Stop teasing him, Valerie said with a shudder. The monster's the last thing I'd want to run into. Anyway, it's getting late. We should get back. Yeah, she's right, Greg said. Oh, well, Andre said with a mock disappointment. Maybe next time I won't come out with a bunch of chickens. Bark, bark. He started to turn the boat in a wide circle, but suddenly it stopped with a jolt and the motor died. Oh, no, you didn't hit the bank, did you? No, I didn't hit the bank. It must be something floating. Maybe it's a log or... Look! Valerie cried out before he could finish. There is something in the water. The four watched in fear as a dark shadow circled slowly under the boat. Greg leaned away from the edge of the boat. No, there are no sharks, Andre. You'd better get the motor started. Right, Andre said quietly. He yanked firmly in the starter cable once, twice, even a third time. On the fourth pull, the motor finally sputtered to life, and as it did, the water a few feet away started to bubble and churn. Something's stirring up the water, Valerie called out nervously. Let's get out of here. All at once, something huge broke the surface. Ah! Andre screamed as an enormous scaly head rose into the air, causing a wave of cold water to slosh over the edge of the boat, drenching everything and killing the motor again. In a panic, Andre stood to get a better grip on the starter cable, causing the little boat to sway violently. Suddenly, he was pitched into the dark green water, and the monster instantly submerged. And everything was dead quiet, except for the wavelets slapping against the side of the rocking boat. We've got to help him, Valerie cried. But there wasn't a ripple in the water, and the kids were too afraid to jump in. Andre's gone, Greg said flatly. The monster really does exist. Mark gazed down wide-eyed at the water. What are we going to do? Without answering, Greg slid toward the motor and tried the starter cable a few times. Oh, the motor's drowned and flooded. We're not going anywhere. Valerie looked toward the shore. All we have to do is wait. Someone will come looking for us. Greg shook his head. No one saw us take the boat. Nobody knows we're here. Well, we can't just sit here, Mark said, trying hard to control the trembling in his voice. What if that thing comes back? We're soaking wet. We'll freeze to death if we stay out here all night. Yeah, Mark's right, Greg answered. We're gonna have to try to swim for it, guys. It's only 100 yards or so to shore. Are you out of your mind? We're no safer in the boat. Swimming to shore is our only chance. Well, I won't do it, Valerie insisted. I'd rather freeze. I won't get in the water with that thing out there. Greg looked at Mark. We can make it. We can make it. Come on. I'm going to go for it. Are you with me or what? Shaking with fright and cold, Mark finally nodded, and the two boys slowly eased themselves over the edge of the boat. And as quietly as they could, they headed toward shore. The water was icy, painfully cold, but Greg willed his body to keep moving, his eyes fixed on the shoreline. They hadn't got but a few yards when they heard Valerie scream. The two boys looked back and saw the water swirling around the tiny boat. Suddenly it was tossed in the air and landed upside down on the surface with a resounding slap, and Valerie tried to clamber back up onto it, but something unseen gripped her flailing legs and tugged her forcefully under the surface. Swim! Greg shouted to his cousin. But it was too late. The water was already growing darker beneath them and in front of them. Something was between them and the shoreline. It's out there, Mark cried. But before he could finish, Mark disappeared. Greg began to swim with every bit of energy he had. His arms churned across the surface until all at once he felt something solid beneath his feet. Crying hard, he dragged himself onto the shore and he looked around. Oh, oh, oh no! He had made it to land all right, but to Goose Bank. The tide was rising, and soon the bank and Greg would be totally submerged. As the waves lapped closer to his feet, Greg called for help, but there was no one to hear him. No one but it. You've just heard tonight's story from Storylink Radio's Countdown to Halloween 2023. Remember to come back for our next tale. Many more stories of all genres available to listen to and read along with now on our website at www.storylinkradio.com. Visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/storylinkradio. And visit our podcast for easy mobile listening anywhere, anytime. Just search for Storylink Radio on your favorite podcast provider. Oh, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click that alert bell for Storylink Radio.